So you want to get into Fate, odds are you don't know where to start, and honestly, that's completely fair. This franchise is an absolute mess of timelines, roots, spin-offs, and alternate universes, so that's why I'm here. In this video, I'm going to provide you with a step-by-step guide on how to navigate this mess of a universe, and how to finally be able to call yourself a Fate fan. As somebody who has dumped well over 2,000 hours into this franchise and has read every single Type Moon visual novel, I feel like I've earned enough credibility to make a dedicated guide on the subject. So without further ado, let's begin. Before we actually start, you're immediately presented with two choices. Do you want to go the anime route or the visual novel route? I'm going to start with the anime route, so if you're only interested in the hardcore watch order, skip to the timestamp below. In my opinion, the best starting point for anyone trying to get into Fate is Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works Season 1. This series acts as the foundation for almost everything that happens in Fate, and it's the most natural place to begin if you're coming in fresh. After that, you naturally move on to Unlimited Blade Works Season 2. Once you finish that, continue on to watch the Heaven's Feel trilogy. And then, finally, you watch Fate Zero. Yes, Zero is a prequel, but trust me, it hits infinitely harder after you've seen the main story. If you start by watching this, you're not only spoiling yourself on Fate Stay Night, but you're also setting a false expectation on what you think the rest of Fate will be like. Now, here's the good news and the bad news. After this point, you can pretty much watch whatever you want in almost any order. What I personally recommend is watching Apocrypha next. Apocrypha serves as a fun, lighter watch and a great introduction to the wider scope of Fate. After that, move on to Babylonia and then the FGO Solomon movie. If you like what you're seeing here, you will probably love Fate Grand Order as a whole. It's a great gateway and appetizer for modern Fate. But even if you never touch the games, these adaptations are still fantastic on their own. From there, you can watch Prisma Illya, some side projects like Karno Kyokai or Carnival Phantasm. Now, if you're still interested in the NAsuverse after finishing the major anime adaptations, your path splits once again. To evolve further, you're faced with two choices. You can either go the source material route, where you experience NAS's more personal, lore-dense stories that form the backbone of the entire universe, or you can start by playing Fate Grand Order, which is where modern Fate is actively being developed. If you enjoy slower, mystery-focused storytelling with deep world building, I highly recommend reading the visual novels. They provide you with the most amount of insight regarding lore. But if you're more into epic battles, massive overarching narratives, and some of the highest heights Fate has to offer, Fate Grand Order is absolutely the way to go. Just know this, if you either complete all the visual novels or finish Fate Grand Order, you're already above 90% of the fanbase. From here on out, the watch order actually becomes pretty simple. If you want to go on the elitist ride, also known as the correct route, just play through the visual novels in the order shown on screen. And if you're going the FGO route, it's even simpler. You download the game, you play it, and eventually you finish it. By this point, about 99% of Fate content will finally make sense. You now understand the terminology, the power system, and what everyone is talking about. Congratulations, you are now a true Fate fan. You have survived the summit and emerged victorious. But that begs the question, why is it made out to be so difficult? Why is what I just described so often blown out of proportion to a ridiculous degree? Normally, when you encounter Fate fans, they describe the watch order as this thesis of a mathematical equation, some impossible construct that only the enlightened can decipher. And here's the thing, none of that difficulty actually comes from Fate itself, it comes from the way Fate is talked about. Because what I just described isn't some extreme edge case, it's the most normal, straightforward way to experience the franchise. There is no confusion, no sacred order, no irreversible mistake waiting to ruin everything, and yet you'd never know that from listening to Fate fans, which got me thinking, why is this the case? Why is this franchise, out of all of them, so hard to sell to people? And honestly, I unironically think it's because of the average Fate fan. I want to preface this by saying that the whole watch order obsession started as a meme that eventually devolved into a myth. It was amplified 100-fold by Gigak, but it existed long before that, and to a degree, he is right. Fate, more specifically the NAsuverse, is kind of a clusterfuck. The lore is scattered, messy, and sometimes inconsistent across different works, but the lore is only confusing if you've never taken the time to actually invest in it. And to properly invest in a franchise, you need guidance, a hand to hold. That is exactly what Fate fans refuse to provide. In Gigak's video, he talks about the insanity of Fate, but what he completely fails to address is what actually makes it intimidating, because what makes it intimidating is a huge part of the problem, something he's unknowingly a part of, and something that's almost entirely exclusive to Fate. The issue isn't that Fate has a fandom, it's that it has sub-fandoms within the fandom. Fate spans so many different types of media that it naturally creates isolated communities under one umbrella. For example, you have the Zero fans, anime-only only viewers who watched Fate Zero, loved it, and then either dismissed the rest of Type Moon or never bothered engaging with it at all. These are the low-hanging fruits of the fandom. Then you have the visual novel fans, Prisma Illya fans, Tsukihime fans, Extra fans, FYO fans, Mahoyo fans, and Karano Kyokai fans, each group largely staying in its own lane. But here's the funny part, a huge portion of the people Fate fans complain about exist inside their own fandom, because good luck trying to convince a Fate Grand Order fan to read or play anything outside of FGO, or trying to get a Zero fan to like anything besides, well, Fate Zero. Most people are only aware of their own tiny corner of Fate, not the bigger picture, and because of that we end up with a bunch of fans confidently pointing fingers, trying to educate newcomers about a franchise they barely understand themselves. That's where most of the problems come from. So yes, Gigak, and honestly a lot of you watching this are average Fate fans. You watch the Ufotable adaptations, Fate Zero, maybe a spin-off or two. That's it. So in what world are you or he qualified to speak about entries outside of that scope? This is the core issue. If you haven't consumed anything beyond the surface level, you barely even understand what's happening within the anime itself. But half the fandom can't grasp that, because to them, the anime is Fate. But the NAsuverse is so much more than that. That's why you should trust all around Type Moon fans, people like myself, because we actually took the time to explore every nook and cranny. We actually took the time to consume everything. The problem started when people began taking advice from clueless Fate fans, people who never really knew what they were talking about in the first place. Calling yourself a reliable source while only knowing a tenth of the picture is damaging and often misleading, because there is a single entry point that true fans consistently agree on. The real confusion doesn't come from where to start, it comes from where to go after. That said, I will give Gigak credit for one thing. He's absolutely right about the watch order. It is an absolute clusterfuck if you don't have a real fan laying out the groundwork for you, because if you don't, the only other alternative is taking advice from someone who doesn't know what they're talking about, and in turn they'll misinform you, deter you, and make you miss out on something genuinely fantastic. I've seen it happen time and time again, and I hope this video sheds some light on the issue, so people are welcomed into the fandom instead of pushed away.
Making my way downtown, walking fast, faces fast, and I'm longbound. And I need you. And I miss you.